Hello, welcome to Big Picture Monday. My name is Cali Black, here with all the context you need to totally rock this week's Come Follow Me readings. This week we are studying the book of 3rd Nephi, chapters 1 through 7. And these chapters are fascinating because in their entirety, they cover Jesus Christ's lifetime here on earth. Now, he was not in the Americas during his regular lifespan. So what we're going to learn is while he's doing all of his growing up and ministering in the Jerusalem area, what were the Nephites and the Lamanites up to? And the answer is it's a whole lot of chaos. But I just think it's fascinating to keep that in mind, that this covers pretty much entirely Jesus Christ's life. We're going to start with the signs of his birth this week, and we're going to end right before the signs of his death happen. We'll get to those next week. So a lot of stuff going on, and chaos is kind of the word of the week, which is tough. You know, your mind wants to go to one story. I know my mind loves that as well, but I also think it's very symbolic that as the storylines get more and more chaotic, the world is getting more and more chaotic in what we're reading. Like, it just kind of makes sense. Lean into the chaos. That's what I'm going to do this week, and just embrace the chaos because there is light coming at the end of the tunnel for these Nephites and these Lamanites. And we're going to read about it so soon. I cannot wait to get to that. But first, we got to just stay in the chaos for a little bit. I think there is actual purpose for that. Hey, quick side note, my 4th quarter study guide is available. I'm so excited to show it to you. It looks beautiful. This is for October through December. If you know my big picture, little picture study guides, go grab it. This is going to help you out for the next 3 months, October through December, going through the rest of 3rd Nephi. We go through the book of Ether, the whole Jaredite nation. There's tons of stuff. If you haven't tried out my big picture, little picture study guides before, basically if you love Big Picture Monday, but you wish it was written down, boom, I got it for you right here in this study guide, but also tons more information. I go way more into the little picture, what's actually going on, spiritual guiding questions, help for teachers of what kind of discussion questions and themes, all sorts of good stuff. Check the links in my bio if you're on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, check the comments below, or always go to my social media channels or website and I'll help you out there. But so excited to launch this. You'll need it September 30th. So order it now so you don't have to worry about it later. Okay, 3rd Nephi 1 through 7. Where are we at? Basically, a lot of people are wicked. We know Samuel the Lamanite just came. So the Lamanites, there's a good group of Lamanites that are righteous, but there are some Nephites that are righteous too that Samuel had helped convert. We know Nephi has been the prophet, right? This is the Nephi who with his brother Lehi had preached. This is the Nephi who had predicted the chief judge's murder in that dramatic fashion. This is the Nephi who, when Samuel the Lamanite was preaching, Nephi was the one who baptized all the people who he converted. So we go into the book of 3rd Nephi. What Nephi are we talking about? Not that one. Surprise! There's another Nephi. In fact, in the very, very first chapter of 3rd Nephi chapter 1 that we're going to read this week, you're going to see that Nephi, the older Nephi, he died. Well, he disappears, never to be heard of again. And his son Nephi takes over as the high priest, which is who we refer to as the prophet. And he is in charge of the church over the land. So 3rd Nephi is named after now Nephi the Younger, you could refer to him as. And we're going to follow his trajectory to see what he's doing. We don't learn tons about him this week, although we do learn a little bit, and I think it's really fascinating to learn about him. As I mentioned, this covers Jesus Christ's life in its entirety, and we do a really cool change this week that your brain is going to love, because so far we've kept time according to the year of the reign of the judges, and your brain's like, what does that even mean? I don't know what we're talking about. But remember that Mormon is the actual author here, right? Mormon, like 400 years in the future from now, is reading the original records and writing his own little summary of it. And he says, by the way, once Christ was born, everyone switched over into how many years have passed since Christ's birth, since the signs of Christ's birth. And guess what? That's the same system we use right now. So it's been 2024 years since that sign at this point. But we're going to be able to now see that by the end of 3rd Nephi chapter 7, when we end, Mormon is saying it's now been 33 years since the sign of Christ's birth. Wink, wink. We know that the signs of Christ's crucifixion are right around the corner, which, again, we'll get to that next week. Okay, ready? Chapter 1, let's dive in. We've got Nephi passing everything on to his son Nephi. Nephi the Younger, is now going to be the record keeper. He is the high priest over the land, and the older Nephi disappears, never to be heard of again. We do not get an official death story of him. Now, it's starting to get close to that time when Samuel the Lamanite said that the signs would come of Christ's birth. Remember the day and the night and the day with no darkness and a new star in the sky. Samuel the Lamanite said this would happen in 5 years. So we're coming up on the 5 years, and the unbelievers get to the point where they set a deadline, and they say, if this sign hasn't happened by this day, we're putting everyone who believes to death. Of course, Nephi, as the new high priest in the land, very distressed by this, and so he prays. He very fervently prays, and in this beautiful interaction, Jesus Christ himself speaks to Nephi and says, I am going to come into the world tonight. The sign is coming tonight. And sure enough, that night, there's no darkness. The signs come, beautiful. So many people are converted and believe because of these great signs. It's just an amazing time, really a light-filled time, quite literally, but also figuratively as well. And then many start to forget. As soon as it happened, many start to explain away the signs that they just saw. And in fact, those Gadianton robbers start to rise in power again, these corrupted individuals who use secret combinations to do what they're doing. So chapter 2, all the people are like, nah, actually those signs did not happen. I'm not sure what we were thinking was going on with those miracles, but those were not miracles. What happened was XYZ. They're coming up with some sort of explanation for them. And the robbers start to rise in power to the point where now they're becoming actually super bold. They are murdering left and right. They're starting to take over entire cities. Like, they're rising in a lot of power now. Something is different about this specific rise in power. It's big. To the point where the Nephites and the Lamanites are like, we need to team up in order to defeat these Gadianton robbers. We can't just do this on our own. So they team up and they are fighting against these robbers, and there's some pretty brutal battles that happen. And in chapter 3, we have the leader of the Gadianton robbers. His name is Gideonhi, and he writes a letter to the governor, the chief judge of the land, and his name is Laconius. And Laconius, Gideonhi says to Laconius, surrender. Surrender all your people, otherwise we will come and destroy you. And Laconius, as any good political leader would do, was like, no, we're not just going to surrender. But also, he was very aware that those robbers could completely destroy them. They had built up the power at this point that they could completely destroy the Nephites and the Lamanites off the land. And so Laconius is like, we've got to come up with a solution. We're not going to surrender. How can we still make this happen? And so he comes up with this idea to gather everyone left in the land, all the righteous people, Nephites and Lamanites alike, into one area. And he says, bring everything you need. Bring your crops, bring your livestock, bring everything as if you were going to live here for 7 years. And they do it. They gather together in one area in the land. They then fortify the outside. They place their troops along the outside. Like, they are ready, to the point where the Nephites and Lamanites are like, let's go. Let's attack these robbers because let's just get this over with. And Gid-Giddoni, a lot of these names are familiar this week, similar. Gid-Giddoni is the captain of the Nephite army. So he's good. Gideonhi, leader of the robbers. Gid-Giddoni, good, okay? He asked the Lord, and the Lord says, do not attack first. Now, I love this because while there's so much chaos in the land, we get little stories like this where clearly some people are connected with the Lord and they are being righteous. And so I love this example of Gid-Giddoni, who's like, no, the Lord says don't attack first. We've got to wait. So they wait. They wait for quite a while. And in chapter 4, finally, Gideonhi and the robbers, who are just like, come on, when are you going to attack us? They're like, we can't wait anymore. We're going to go attack. And so they come to attack this huge Nephite Lamanite city that they've formed. And it is the worst battle ever. I feel like they keep saying that, but I actually believe it really this time. Like, this is the most brutal battle. People are lost on both sides, but eventually the Nephites/Lamanites are victorious. They beat back the robbers, and Gideonhi is killed as part of that. So exciting. A man named Zemnariha now takes over as leader of the robbers, and they wait for a couple couple years, they're just trying to see, like, are the Nephites going to come out and attack us? Because that's the only way we can defeat them. If they stay in their stronghold, we're not winning. So let's try and draw them out. Nothing happens. So Zemnariah, this leader of the robbers, says, let's lay siege to their city. Let's completely surround them and see what we can do. Well, he tries this. Unfortunately, his own troops that go to surround and siege this city end up getting hungry and they run out of food. And so he says, okay, let's leave. Let's go march and get some food, and then we'll come back with some provisions. But as they're leaving, the Nephites come up with a plan. And so Gidgiddoni, the Nephite captain, he secretly goes with his troops and he surrounds these robbers as they're leaving, and the war is won. They defeat the robbers. They take Zemnariah, the leader, and hang him from a tree. Every single robber is either asked to give a treaty of peace or they are put to death. And there is like so much celebration in the land. They are so excited. They have defeated the Gadianton robbers. Yes, legit, this is real. Okay, so chapter 5, every single Nephite is converted. Every single one. There's good stuff in these chapters. I love it. And then Mormon, remember Mormon's the author compiling this. He says, I'm compiling this record with my own hand. I can't include everything that's going on. I'm doing my best. And I'm going to testify of Jesus Christ too. I love chapter 5. I love hearing from Mormon every once in a while. So chapter 6, everyone now leaves this one area. They go back to their own lands. They're so industrious. They're building up new cities. And then they start to get really rich. And then they start to get prideful. And there's lots of divisions in the land. And secret combinations pop up again. And now we have chief judges and high priests throughout the land that are now super wicked and corrupt and starting to do their own things. They're starting to just murder. In fact, Laconius, the governor of the land, he passes the judgment seat on to his son, who's also named Laconius. And they're killing the prophets. Like, it's not good. And in our final chapter, chapter 7, this new Laconius is murdered on the judgment seat. And this one action basically dissolves the entire government system. Everyone breaks apart into their own little tribes of families and kindred and friends. They do their own thing. And people are like generally peaceful to each other, but there's no righteousness. They aren't being righteous in general. They are not feeling this righteousness. There is this one really wicked group led by a man named Jacob. They escape up to the north. And then at the end of chapter 7, we finally get to hear what Nephi, this younger Nephi, we haven't learned about him yet, what he's been up to. And he is visited by angels. And he raises his brother from the dead. That's going to come back and play pretty soon too. He's performing miracles and he is still baptizing people. So, like I said, there's these good stories sprinkled throughout the chaos, and that's where we end this week, in the 33rd year after Christ, the signs of Christ's birth. That's where we're at. Everyone's split into random tribes, just straight up evil in a lot of the land, but still goodness and miracles abound, and I love that. Okay, that's it. It's your turn. Dive into this new book, 3rd Nephi. I mean, everyone knows good stuff's happening in the book of 3rd Nephi, but we got to start with this chaotic stuff first, as we find out all of that I just explained happened during the 33 years of Christ's life in Jerusalem. It's just so interesting to think that. I think my personal focus question for this week is, it blows my mind how people were able to see these amazing signs of Christ's birth and then within a couple years be like, yeah, I don't think that was real. And yet, do I always believe my own past spiritual experiences? Do I trust my own spiritual memory? I want to make sure that I'm believing myself when I have those good spiritual experiences, and I believe in the miracles even a few years after. It seems a lot easier to believe in the moment, right? A lot of people are temporarily converted by miracles, but in the long run, not the best track record. So what can I do to make sure I'm staying humble and converted? Okay, have a great week this week. Don't forget, grab the 4th quarter study guide so you have that, because you'll need it 2 weeks from today. Okay, have a great week. Happy studying.